Welcome back to Newsmax Now. Russia has launched airstrikes in Syria, injecting themselves into the Syrian civil war. At first, the Russians claimed they hit ISIS terrorists, but just 24 hours into their military campaign, their true ambitions came into sharper focus.
It does appear that they were in areas where there probably were not ISIL forces.
That was Defense Secretary Ashton Carter acknowledging what many feared, that Russia was in Syria not to fight against ISIS, but to fight for Assad, a longtime enemy of the U.S. And joining us live now to go more in depth is Fred Fleitz. He is the former CIA analyst and senior vice president at the Center for Security Policy. Thank you so much for joining us here on Newsmax Now. Always good to have you.
Good to be here, Miranda.
Fred, were you at all surprised that Putin's forces were backing Assad?
Well, I mean, Putin's been backing Assad for a long time, but
right.
I was very surprised at this rapid deployment of Russian aircraft and ground troops. I didn't expect the president's policy. He laid out a policy to deal with the situation in Iraq and Syria only a year ago. I didn't expect it to collapse so quickly.
Now, well, reports out today that hundreds of Iranian troops are joining the fight in Syria, joining up with both Russia and a Hezbollah offensive. Is this trifecta in some way creating that perfect storm in the region?
Well, I mean, Russia says it's in Syria to fight ISIS. No, it isn't. Russia is trying to establish a new Russian-based regional axis with Iran to be the dominant player in the region, to work with Iran, and to dispel the United States as a major player in the region. This is a big game changer, and it's very dangerous for our interests and for the region.
Well, here's Secretary of State John Kerry speaking about this very issue at the UN General Assembly.
The United States supports any genuine effort to fight ISIL, but we must not and will not be confused in our fight against ISIL with support for Assad.
Why then is it, as you just mentioned, you said Putin has long supported Assad, so should we be this surprised about his tactics right now?
Miranda, it's John Kerry who is confused. I mean, Putin is not in Syria to fight ISIS, which they call ISIL. He's in Syria to fill a power vacuum. And another point is, there's no real possibility of getting Assad out of power. Why would he leave power? If he resigned, he'd either be executed, he'd be arrested, or he would be put on trial. He knows what's happened to Gaddafi and to Mubarak and to other despots. There's no chance he's going to leave, especially with Russian support. Mr. Kerry has to think of other options.
And Fred, you have a new column out about how to deal with what you call the collapse of Obama's Syria-Iraq strategy. What do you think is the biggest mistake that the administration is making now, and how can it resolve it, or can it?
Well, I think the biggest mistake is trying to partner with Iran and Russia to deal with the situation in Iraq and Syria when they are part of the problem. To solve that problem, we need a stronger alliance with European states and regional states. If we allow Russia and Iran to expand and entrench themselves in this region, we're going to have major security problems for many years to come. This really has to be stopped in its tracks. I don't think there's a lot Mr. Obama is prepared to do to solve the situation, but I think at a minimum he should draw a line that we're not going to be promoting Iran and Russia as partners to deal with this threat.
I want to ask you something. We've done a lot of stories talking about how poor the economy is in Russia. So who's financially backing Russia when it comes to attacks like these?
Well, this is costing Russia money, but Russia probably thinks it's worth it. If Russia establishes itself as a reliable player in the region, it's going to get military sales. It's already trying to sell military equipment to Egypt because the Russians are saying to the Egyptians, we'll always be our friends. We don't care about human rights abuses. And Russia's going to say that to other regional states. You don't know whether the United States will be here tomorrow. You know we will be. And I think that's going to be an appealing message to a lot of despots and countries with human rights violations around the world.
But before we let you go, real quickly, we heard that Hillary Clinton's private email server reportedly was targeted by Russian hackers. Are you surprised at all by this?
I'm not surprised, and it is simply another example of how irresponsible it was for Hillary Clinton to try to evade the accountability laws, which require government emails to be accountable, and basically you're not supposed to use your private emails for government work. But another reason for that is security reasons, and I think we're going to find a lot of this.
All right, Fred Fleitz, always great to have your insight on this matter. Thank you so much for joining us here on Newsmax Now. Still to come, we'll discuss more about the Obama administration's strategy with Russia in the Middle East during today's roundtable, including a glimpse back in time, a time which the president probably would prefer that we'd all forget. We'll explain just ahead. And the very latest details on that college shooting in Oregon.